who owns someone's image? Like, okay, hear it out. If I pass away tomorrow and I drop dead.
The podcast is continuing with your face on Keisha. Hi guys, and welcome back to another episode of Life Uncut. I'm Brittany.
And I'm Laura.
Let's get down to business, Laura.
Let's get down to business.
How big is that baby?
Oh, sorry. No. Baby updates can wait because
Okay.
there's much more important things for us to tick off first.
I was hoping you'd say that.
I want to remind everyone of the headline first. Let me pull it up. Hold on 1 second. I should have gotten prepared, but I mean, I'm not.
We've only been here for 2 hours.
Here we go. I'd like to just read out the headline that was published a couple of weeks ago. I know we touched on it, but then we have an update on this. Brittany Hockley reveals her wedding was fake and the shocking moment her husband was denied entry into Australia. We have some good news firstly.
Hang on. What's worse in that headline? That my wedding was fake or that my husband was denied entry? Because it makes it sound like something happened or he got arrested. Like, what would you prefer in that headline?
I think I would prefer my husband to be denied entry than for people to think that my wedding was completely fake.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. The reason why I'm reading this out is because we have an update, a very, very important life update to share with you.
It's legal. My wedding's not fake. I had a real wedding.
We signed the papers and it is all legit, baby.
Laura says we collectively, like not that we all got married, but Laura and Keisha were the witnesses.
Oh, yeah. So I was like, we literally signed the papers. Keisha and I, we are the ones who made it legal for you. Otherwise, it would still be a fake wedding.
It just sounded like we all got married. Like Laura's like, we signed the papers. We did have our legal wedding. And I have been getting a lot of questions when I'm going to get married. I'm married. I'm officially married. Write that headline. No one's going to write that.
I want everyone to know that I really did put a good, strong case forward for live streaming it, and I was rejected.
No, I almost was going to. Because it was the funniest wedding. Like, even though it was the real one, it was almost not real. It was almost like the weddings were swapped. So the big Bali wedding that wasn't real, that felt
The fake
more
wedding.
It felt more real. And then this little intimate legal wedding felt like the joke. And I say that because maybe there was like less pressure on it because we'd already done it and the big festivities. We had this beautiful, very intimate, like I'm talking 10 people, basically all these work people and my closest friends. My family weren't there. Like it was we planned it within 5 days. I don't know how we pulled that off. We planned it within 5 days. We got it done and it was so special but so fucking funny. Like from the second we stepped onto that boat, because it was on a boat, we did not stop laughing.
Sorry. Days before this, I think it was less than a week beforehand, Britt turns to me and she's like, okay, so we're thinking next Wednesday and it's just going to be really small. I think I'm just going to do my own hair and makeup. And I laughed and I was like, Brittany Hockley, I know, please, you don't even know yourself. It is going to start this big and it is going to evolve.
It snowballs.
Ever so quickly. I was like, I know for certain you are not going to be doing your own hair and makeup. And what ended up happening, Brittany?
So I was doing my own hair and makeup. I honestly was. And then one of my really good friends, Kim, who you guys have seen across the years, she's also like styles me. She's a stylist. I sent her what I was wearing. She's like, who's doing your hair and makeup? I said, me, I'm doing it. She went, absolutely not. Absolutely not. So she made me get it done. She made me. I would be happy to have had this wedding day with my own hair and makeup.
Kim's an old friend who also, obviously she's a stylist, but we met her from back in the Batch days. Like she was the stylist on Batch.
Yeah.
You guys connected and became really good friends after that. And then she's always styled you.
Yeah, you and her are like my longest, best relationships from The Bachelor. Like the stylist and someone on a different season. Weird. I couldn't get a fucking boyfriend, but just collected people like a bowerbird.
No, but I think it's one of those things where obviously the Bali wedding was incredible and beautiful, and like we've spoken about it. It was all the things that you wanted for a wedding.
It was my dream wedding.
But it's like
just wasn't real.
It
was everything I wanted.
Just wasn't legitimate.
It just wasn't real. It was like a set.
I don't want to say it was high pressure because in no way was it like stressful or anything, but it was like the stakes were higher. There was just more organization. It was like a big wedding. Whereas like the other day,
there was a schedule.
The other day, there was no schedule. It was very relaxed. 10 people on a boat. You guys hadn't written vows. It was all kind of off the cuff. And it felt really intimate and it felt really, really special.
Yeah, I did. I stressed Ben out. He wasn't stressed at all. Then when we arrived, the celebrant we used her name is Kaya, and she's
She's
of Laura's
my best friend.
Yeah, she's one of Laura's best friends. She also married Laura. I've known her for years as well. So that was really nice. But just as we got on, she's like, so you guys got vows and stuff? Like, we're still doing a wedding. And I looked at Ben and I was like, shit, let's just improv. Like, let's ad lib. I've been to acting school. I'm like, cool, off the cuff.
I can pretend like I love you.
Ben.
I can act it.
Well, I talk for a living, so I don't need to prepare. But Ben was like dropping nuggets. He's like, I haven't prepared anything. And I said, it's okay. Just talk to me. Just say whatever comes to mind. It doesn't matter. We've done the wedding. You've written the vows. Anyway, I think it made it so much better because we just looked at each other and said what we felt in that moment. Nothing was pre-planned. Nothing was prepared. And I think it was more emotional, and we probably felt more and cried more in that moment because of exactly what you just said, Laura. It's like we weren't overthinking anything. There wasn't pressure. There weren't 100 people watching, and, there weren't all these cameras, and it just felt more, I don't want to say real, but it felt more.
But it did, because it was actually more real. It was legal.
in a way, and I don't want this taken out of context, it felt like we were more present.
Yeah.
Even though we made such an active choice. We even spoke about it before our wedding. Let's be so present and think of every single word we were saying to each other in the big wedding. Like, I was like, let's think about it, look at each other, talk, like, don't just speak the words, I was like, let's just sit in it and really feel it. I said to Ben, block everyone else out. And we did that. We were present, but this just felt like that on steroids.
Well, it was also, we can talk about how it was such a sentimental day, which it was. It was very beautiful.
We can
It was
talk about what went wrong.
it was also genuinely, I don't think I've ever laughed so fucking hard in my entire life, because as much as everything went off perfect, seemingly beautiful, there was one thing that happened that was not to plan.
Well, firstly, I want to say one of my favorite parts besides marrying Ben, Delilah got to be there. Delilah is my bestie. You all know that. And I was really upset about getting married in Bali and not having her there. Like, it was actually a big decision.
Yeah.
Dog lovers know that like, getting married knowing you can't have your pet's a big thing.
Oh,
You had
100%.
Busty.
Like, when we picked our wedding venue, it was picked on the basis that it would be somewhere where we could take Buster. So
Yeah.
we got married down in Ulladulla at Cupid's Estate, and they allow for dogs. So that was
Yeah.
made it easy for us. We didn't look at anywhere else.
Yeah, well, I got married on a boat that's called Charisma 2, and it's actually the boat of a lifer. So her name's Rachel, but she's got a
so
boat
nice.
business. She's got a
Yeah,
boat
she's
business,
lovely.
and she reached out and she said, "I think I have some availability. Let me know the exact days and times." And we worked it out, and she was amazing. Like, she was so good. She just got everything done within a couple of days' time, and she was so relaxed, and she allowed Delilah to come on because I said, look, I don't know if you allow dogs, but I can only get married if my dog can come. And she was like, yep, we'll work it out. Anyway, Delilah had this like little veil that Keisha bought that you guys know.
From Temu.
Yeah, from Temu, $8.
It wasn't from Temu. I don't want people being
Amazon.
like, don't shop on Temu. It's not much better. But
Jeff
yes,
Bezos.
it was from Amazon. And my job for the day was just to kind of like man Delilah, get her onto the boat and look after her because you were doing other things.
She actually ended up just looking after herself.
Well, when we got onto the boat, she looked at me. You know when dogs go onto escalators and they look at you like, bruh, do you know that the floor's moving?
Yeah.
She turned to me. She was just looking at me with this worried look in her eyes, and I was like, it's fine, baby. You'll get used to it. You're born for this. You're born to be a boat dog. And she did by the end.
And so I had another dress from Stephen Khalil. Yes, I did it. And before you ask, it is dress number 4. I know that.
It was super low key.
Sorry, it was
super low key, really relaxed bridal look for the reception, for the ceremony. What do we call this one?
It's a wedding, the real wedding.
No, it's not a wedding.
Registry.
Ceremony.
Ceremony.
Yeah.
It's a ceremony.
Okay, cool. Whatever. It's Brittany's third wedding. Most people, when they have multiple weddings, it's because they're marrying different people. But you're just having the same wedding over and over. Keep marrying the same guy.
So I had a beautiful dress that was more simple and understated in comparison. Like, my dress for the wedding was very big. If you haven't seen it, we did make a 4-meter
Don't
wide
I
aisle.
know it?
Yeah. Kisha knows because she had to cart it across the country. So we're at the end of the aisle. We're about to walk down. Now, the aisle is 4 meters long. It's so small. So it's very intimate. There's 10 people. I'm at the end with Delilah. She's walking down the aisle with me, and I have my dress, I have my veil. Ben's at the end. The music starts playing, the wedding song that I created for Ben with Sam Fisher, and I just start crying because it took me back to the wedding, and I just felt so emotional. Ben was crying. It was beautiful.
I really want to set the scene because you weren't just crying, you squatted down. So you were squatting crying at the end of the aisle.
I was squat crying, yeah.
You were squat crying.
With Delilah.
We've all been there, but usually it's on like a Saturday night,
Not at
4 a.m.
Because I cannot explain the the second the song started playing, it was like a tidal wave of emotions
Yeah.
that made me like drop to the ground crying, laugh, squat crying, cuddling Delilah. It was a whole thing. What I haven't said yet is it had to have been like that morning, Rachel, the boat owner, messaged me and she said, hey, is there another day you want to do this? Do you want to move it to tomorrow or the next day? Because this really weird windstorm has come through. Like not a storm, it was sunny. She's like, just a windstorm. And I'm like, oh.
Really windy.
Really windy. And I
Great
was-
for boats.
Enough that she was like, you want to reconsider. We wouldn't normally go out. And I said, there's not another day. I said, the celebrant's here. People have taken time off work. Ben and I are away. Like, it's today. And she's like, okay, well, I just wanted to let you know. Appreciate that. Anyway.
You're all going to be getting sick.
Yeah. So we're on the boat. It is so windy. I'm about to walk down. And then this gust of wind comes out of nowhere, rips my veil off my head as like we're in the middle of the ceremony and just like flies it away. But it doesn't go all the way away. It sort of just goes like a meter or two away. So I start running to catch it and everyone's sort of laughing. You guys are laughing, but no one's panic stationed yet except
No
me.
one's helping.
No one's helping. I'm in my heels and my dress running around this boat. But it was like a comedy show. Every time I would reach for the veil, like a millimeter away, the wind would take it away a little bit further. Anyway, everyone's running around the boat now. It kept getting caught around poles, and just as we go to get it, it would rip away. It flies off the boat 50 meters away as we're all watching it and just lands in the ocean. Beautifully, beautifully laid out in the ocean.
Sydney Harbour.
In Sydney Harbour, in the middle of my ceremony. I was like, what the actual fuck? This couldn't be more Brittany. This is the most Brittany thing to happen. And we all just, Laura, I've never seen anything like it. Laura's on the ground, literally in a pool of wee. She wet herself. I literally, not a little leakage, just like you just went to the toilet.
I wish I could say I was embarrassed. I wasn't even embarrassed. I could not stop laughing. And then I started coughing because I was laughing so hard.
And that just doubled down.
Every time I coughed, I pissed my pants. I literally had wee running down my legs. It was humiliating. Ben had to help me up off the floor.
Ben, this
He was
video
like,
footage.
go to the bathroom. I was like, I fucking can't.
No, you're like, I have.
There's nothing left.
Ben pulled Laura up off the ground because this is a 6-month pregnant woman weeing on the ground. Ben pulls her up to help her, sees the pile of wee on the ground and just puts it back down. He's like, just go back. You stay down there while the camera's here.
Fully. Guys, it's not, I know we joke about my pelvic floor far out. I really hope it comes back after number 3, but it is gone. If I cough too hard, if I have like a unprepared sneeze, anything, any sort of body function that is a surprise to my abdomen, I piss my pants. Like, it's not okay.
I cannot. I have the funniest video I'm going to put on Insta. I've just never experienced anything like it. I was pushing my cheeks together because they hurt of laughing. You know when your cheeks, you're laughing too hard. I was like, my cheeks can't go laterally anymore. Like, I have to push them together.
But literally, Britt walked back down to like go back down the island to start the ceremony, and I had to go down to the bathroom. And I was like, please don't start without me.
No, we had to. Everyone's like, where's Laura? And I was like, she wet herself. Give her a minute. I was like,
Having an undue change.
I'm really sorry to make it about me again.
standard. Once it was diarrhea and now you've wet yourself. Why is it always bodily function?
There's something wrong with me.
So then we walked back and I was like, well, the show must go on. One of the crew members is out in a dinghy trying to fetch it, but it's like floating away. So I was like, we'll see him in an hour. So we go back to the ceremony and I was like, what am I going to do? Keisha's like, I have an idea. So she takes the $5 Temu mini veil off Delilah.
It was 12.
Sorry, I shouldn't shortchange you.
I mean, it's end of financial year sales. I'm surprised it wasn't 5.
It should have been $2. She takes
It
it.
also was so much shorter than the pitch made it look.
It's about 30 centimetres
It
long.
looked like it would be maybe half a meter. And yes, I could have looked at the dimensions, but who has time for that? I ordered it with like the most express post you can get. So it came the next morning just so that I knew and I was prepared for Delilah to have her accessories for the wedding.
But it was how serious Keisha was. She's like, wait, Britt, I've got it.
Don't worry.
And I was
I've
like,
got a solution.
I said, oh, did she bring me a backup veil? Is she like the best? Anyway, she goes and gets this Temu veil that literally just like spikes out of my head. That is a dog veil. Puts it in my hair and she's like, perfect. I was like, Keisha, I cannot walk down the aisle in a Stephen Cool dress and a $5 Temu veil. No. The show must go on. I did get married without my veil, which isn't the end of the world, but it just made for the funniest Like, I look back now, I can't stop smiling. I look back and I just think it was one of the best days of my life, even though I just did have a very big, expensive wedding. The little one that I didn't plan was amazing.
I want people to picture, like, have you ever dropped a note of money when it's like a windy day, if you're at a restaurant or something like that,
Yeah.
and it falls to the ground, and as you go to get it, it's always as you reach down to get it, it gets picked up by wind and it moves a little bit further. That's what was happening to Britt. It was this massive big veil, and you look like an idiot every time you're like reaching down to try and get it, because then it blows away. And it was in sections. And because we were all at the front of the boat, we didn't see it blow into the air because you ran after it, and all of us were a bit like, "Oh my god, what is happening?
No,
Where's she going?"
No, it was more the like deathly scream when Brittany was like, "Oh no!" That's when we all realised it had gone off the ship and into the water.
Oh my God, it was so funny.
I have a question for you. What does it mean now with Ben? So when does Ben go back home to Italy, and then when is he back? And what is the plans for the short term?
Yeah. Actually, he just messaged me now in this record. And
I'm glad that you're fully focused on
well, no,
the
just
episode.
before we started, like as we were about to start, I get a message from him, and it made me want to cry because he said booking my flights on Saturday. So in like 4 days.
He flies home on Saturday.
Yeah, so this Saturday he's going home.
It's been so nice to have him. It's just felt so normal.
I know. He just
Because this is
it
like the
worked
longest
out.
time you guys have like
I'm
spent
glad I
together,
married him.
right?
Yeah, this will be 2 weddings and 6 weeks and 3 mini moons. So it's been like the most wholesome time. It's been the most. I understand how that sounds. It's been 2 weddings, 4 dresses, and 3 mini moons. Yeah, I get it.
Well, I mean, go
You're
out.
like, you're casual and low-key.
Yeah, go off, Queen. Go off.
Oh, and I will post a picture as well because we did finally get our wedding cake. You guys know the pizza debacle that looks like 4 pizzas stacked on top of each other. I had a beautiful local patisserie, Eden Patisserie, that was like, we are going to make you the cake that you never had. I promise it won't be a pizza. And they sent like the most beautiful cake. So I feel like we got all of our little moments, you know, but we got the cake, we lost the veil. You can't have it all.
Well, hopefully now there's at least one headline that validates that you are married and it's legitimate.
The last thing we didn't say is because we did a whole wedding again. So we took off our wedding rings. Like the ones that Laura made. We didn't get extra rings.
No. They're just the same rings.
The same
They're
rings.
still good.
But these are like, you guys have seen them. They're beautiful, like big diamond rings and that Tony May made. So
Hashtag Tony May.
swipe up.
Yep.
No discount.
There's no discount on those.
Too expensive.
They're really expensive.
No discount, yeah.
The sale's finished now, Keisha.
But for first-time shoppers, you can use Life Uncut 20 for 20% off.
Yeah, we have a code.
Hang on, are you making money off my wedding?
Sorry.
Fair,
No,
fair,
no,
Yeah.
fair.
Fuck, man, they were expensive.
Yeah, I know.
I get asked in the Facebook group all the time, so here it is.
I'm joking. So Keisha's like, I've got a cute idea. I'm going to like send them down the aisle on Delilah, and Delilah can be the ring girl. And so in my head, I was like, cute. She's going to have like a little ring bag. It's going to be a whole thing. Now we're on a boat. So she sends Delilah down, and there's like the scabbiest scrunchy, like hair elastic that she's pulled out of her hair on the day.
No, it was your head.
She's tied
So before you say it's scabby, I want to say that I was like, I don't have a hair tie. This is a problem. And I looked at you and I was like, where's that scrunchie you had on your wrist before?
So it's the scabbiest little hair tie that she's like tied knots in. It's like, this is the dodgiest thing you've ever seen. Tied knots around all the rings, tied a knot to Delilah's collar. And Delilah's just running around the boat with these diamond rings attached to a scrunchie. I was like, this is dangerous.
Oh, I have something to admit. I'm actually the one that tied it to the collar.
Oh, did you?
So,
Oh, I don't feel bad then.
and I know that they were very secure. I did a little double loop, secured them to the collar, and
Laura's-
off she went.
I was a Girl Scout.
Laura saw how I did it and she freaked out going, that is not secure enough. Pass it here.
They're not insured yet.
I went to gum nuts. And you know what they say? If you can't tie knots, tie lots. There you go.
Yeah, that's what took me like 20. We're at the end of the aisle and everyone's watching. We couldn't get them off. I was like, oh. Anyway, I'm married.
That's what my dad says. My dad's a fisherman, everyone. So trust him. Anyway,
Can't tie a knot, tie lots.
if you can't
you not
tie
heard
knots,
that?
tie
No,
lots.
I feel like if you can't tie a knot, don't.
Well, sometimes you might really need to. So, like, you know, if it's a life or death situation, if you don't know how to tie a good knot, just tie lots of them.
Lefty
anyway,
loosey,
we've
tighty right.
we've focused on that for too long. Sorry, that's my fault.
Okay. And so what's the size of your baby?
Can it stand up in the womb?
No, guys, I'm really sorry. I know we're all laughing about this. Last episode, I told the same story twice. I haven't lived it down yet. It's been brought up many times since. I'm not going to tell the same story. The kids still breach. Okay, it's still breach.
Okay.
It's still kicking me in the cervix, but I kind of forget how far along I am, right? It's like I forget this pregnancy. I think like third pregnancies, it goes quicker. You're obviously busy with the two kids. You're also not as stressed. So you're not like checking the pregnancy app and you're not looking at like milestones and like, oh my gosh, my baby's just grown fingernails.
It's like old news.
It's got eyelashes. I have not checked a single milestone for this kid except for the stuff that you really have to go and get done, like your scans and lots of stuff. Anyway.
Well, you even forgot that.
I did forget a scan, but I made up for it.
Laura booked the results. She booked the appointment to go to a doctor to get the results of a scan she didn't get.
Oh, yeah. So I went to my obstetrician appointment. And he was like, why are you here? You were supposed to be here so we could go over your 20-something week scans. He's like, did you get your scans done? They haven't come through. And I was like, no, I forgot. Sorry. And so then I had to go and get the scan. Anyway, long story.
Surely that's something that they like. Pregnancy brain is known to be a thing. Surely they text you to tell you.
No, apparently it's a third pregnancy thing. So he was like, have you booked in to have the baby at the hospital? Because you have to actually make an appointment, right?
Pardon?
So it's not,
Yeah.
Just so you know, for anyone who hasn't had a baby, it depends. Like you don't book in for a time slot. It's not like you're being induced, but the hospital needs to know that you are pregnant and that you are coming within a month so that they know how many pregnancies they have so they can make sure that they're staffed in a way that they're able to service the obstetrics ward, right?
Yeah, right.
So you've got to make a booking. And like you can show up at a public hospital and have a baby if something goes wrong, but like it doesn't work like that if you want a bed,
You
right?
don't turn up in labour and they're not like, no, I don't have you scheduled. You'll have to go to the car park.
Don't have you written, mate, there's been some horror stories.
Yeah, I know.
I'm sure it's happened. So my obs was like, hey, have you booked in to have the baby at the hospital? And he said the only women I've ever known to forget to make their hospital bookings are women having their number 3 baby, because they just
Interesting.
it's like you know that you'll get things done but you kind of just forget and then do it on your own timeline. Anyway, I was talking to Matt the other day and Matt looks at me, he goes, fuck, I can't believe that we're going to have a kid in like 18 weeks. And I was like, that sounds really far. I don't think it's that far. And I looked at my calendar. We're having a kid in 12 weeks. It is 12 weeks away that
That's
this baby will be
insane.
out of me and in the real world.
I
12
think
weeks.
you meant we're having a baby.
The
in
3 of
12 weeks.
us.
Yeah.
We got married last week. So
We all
we're
got married,
also
yeah.
having a baby.
Yeah. So in case you were curious, the baby is currently a like cabbage or a lettuce. That's the size of it. And yeah, we're going great. 12 more weeks.
I feel like collectively we aren't ready.
No, same. The Peloton and the Pilates machine that's in the baby's room
Screams not ready.
would scream that I'm actually not prepared. I don't have a single thing. So I have not got the cot. I don't have the side carrier where you put your baby in. I don't have like we got rid of everything. So the only thing I have is a bag of clothes that I haven't been through that Vanessa gave me, which were all hand-me-downs that I gave Vanessa.
Oh, they've come back?
I just got my recycled hand-me-downs back, but I have nothing else. Worrying.
I feel like you have 12 weeks is 12 weeks.
3
you
months.
have time. Like you just need to do it.
I did get Delilah's veil express shipped. I'm sure you can get
Bezos to the rescue.
Yeah, because he needs the business.
Speaking of Jeff Bezos, we did want to speak about the wedding until we realized that every single person in the entire universe and every media publication has spoken about
Every
it.
podcast has done it. We're like, let's not bore you guys.
So I feel like it's been done. But I do want to say for $52 million, I was surprised at what they did for $52 million. That's what I want to say. It doesn't scream $52 million wedding to me.
They had to pay for all the jets
Yeah.
and the security and kick everyone else who was meant to be in Venice who had already booked into other hotels.
And the
Yeah.
environmental
The
impact.
fossil fuels and stuff.
Yeah, offsetting carbon emissions.
That's all
It's
we're going to
expensive.
say. Yeah.
Yeah,
Anyway,
which
also
they definitely didn't do.
The only thing I also want to add is if you haven't Googled what the invitation looks like, do yourself a favor.
Do you reckon it's real?
Do yourself a favor and just Google Jeff Bezos wedding invitation.
It's real.
Because it screams to me that someone has the free version of Canva and they just got some click art and put it together.
It screams like I would have done it.
Yeah.
It seems like a child did it on Microsoft Paint.
It looks like it's been done on PowerPoint. It looks like when Matt does, I mean, bless Matt, he's really good at it, but Matt does all of his presentations and like documents and stuff on PowerPoint and it looks like a PowerPoint document.
Do you think it could have been in Jess though? There's apparently a bit of a trend going around of that kind of a thing.
Potentially.
The 52 mil, they've got money for people. So I think it was intentional.
Do you know what? Look, we're going to save you the Google. We're going to post it ourselves to socials and we're going to move right along. That's what we're going to do.
So something that I wanted to talk about that just came to light late last night and this morning.
Hot off the press.
So hot off the press.
Steaming.
Yeah. And something and someone everyone knows about, Vin Diesel. So over the weekend, Vin Diesel, who is the creator and producer of the whole Fast and Furious franchise, which we all know there's 10 of them. They've been absolute blockbusters.
I thought that there was a million of them, honestly. It's Fast and the Furious is the gift that keeps
know.
on giving. It's fast, it's furious, it's still fast. It's furiouser than faster.
Well, he made a pretty big statement. He has said that the final installment, which will be number 11, or some people say it's like
10.5.
10.5.
Yeah.
So over the weekend at an automotive car fest that is run by Paul Walker's brother Cody. Now, that sounds convoluted, but bear with me. Vin Diesel was at the car fest and made this huge announcement about the final installment of the franchise. He has said that they plan on using CGI and AI to bring Paul Walker back to life and put him in the final film of Fast and Furious. Now, for those of you that don't remember, Paul Walker passed away halfway through filming number 7 of the film. So they'd filmed the first half. He had a horrific car accident where he passed away. And they finished the film by using some of his brothers to stand in, some CGI to overlay his face, some old archive footage of him to finish number 7. And everybody sort of thought that that was done and dusted. Fast forward a few more films, we're at the final installment and he has said that he will only do number 11 on 3 conditions. Have a listen to what he said.
The studio said to me, Vin, can we please have the finale of Fast and Furious April 2027? I said under 3 conditions. The first is to bring the franchise back to LA. The second thing was to return to the car culture, to the street racing. The third thing was reuniting Dom and Brian O'Connor.
So this has really raised a question around the moral decision-making of using AI to bring someone back from the dead. And now the reason why this is slightly different, I know you touched on this, Britt, in terms of Paul Walker being in Fast and Furious in film 7, Furious 7 is what it's called. They've already used CGI of him in the past, but that was in order to complete a movie in which he had already started filming and was really quite a long way through the process. So there's only a small portion of the end of that film, if you guys remember, where he is either CGI or there's body doubles where it's his brothers, like filmed from his actual brother who was his body double at the time, filmed from behind. This feels really different. I mean, he died in 2013. We're now 2025. This movie isn't going to come out until 2027. So we are so far down the track and it is going to be a completely new storyline. That's the final chapter or the final movie of this series and sequence. And it means that all of the footage that's going to be used is going to be completely created through AI and through the current advancements that exist with AI technology. And also, I think it's really important for us to touch on not just like what might be the moral complications of this and the backlash that's really just kind of come up overnight around it, but also around the monetary gains of this series. So the Fast and Furious franchise as a total has generated over $7 billion at the global box office, which makes it one of the most successful film franchises of all time. Now, as we've established, there are 10 of these films with the part 2 of the last episode coming out in 2027. But just to give you an understanding of how much money they have made individually, the most successful film that has been released was Furious 7, which accumulated $1.5 billion. That is the film that Paul Walker passed away in. The reason why it was so successful is because by large, most people wanted to see how that movie played out. And it was such a huge, momentous time in pop culture. And I think it was felt across the world. It was kind of akin to like when Heath Ledger died.
Yeah.
And he was only 40 at the time. So everyone wanted to see like, how did that play out? And since then, I think it's evident to say if you go back and you look through how much money these films have made, Paul Walker's death had a very significant impact in the exposure and also the visibility of these films. I'm not saying that bringing him back is in any way purely motivated by money, because it does seem as though Paul Walker's family and Vin Diesel, who by all accounts is one of Paul Walker's best friends, truly cares about the legacy of Paul Walker and cares about the legacy of the Fast and Furious franchise. But we can't deny that there's a monetary aspect that's connected to this.
Yeah, I think there's obviously monetary gain, but I personally don't think that it is money driven. And I say that because it does give me a little bit of the ick. I've been trying to work out how I feel about it, and I don't think I like the fact that somebody doesn't have a say over their image. Having said that, we don't know that he didn't sign on to an entire franchise. We don't know that there weren't clauses in his contract to say that you can use his image to finish a franchise. We don't know. What we do know is that Vin Diesel and Paul Walker were best friends. When Paul Walker died, his daughter Meadow was only 15 years old, and Vin Diesel became her godfather, and he has stayed so close to her the entire time. Like, he stepped in as a bit of a father figure. He went from godfather to acting like a father, and he really looked after her because she was so young. We know that the family has approved it, which I think says a lot. I don't believe Vin Diesel, because he's a creator and a producer, I don't think that he would put Paul Walker in a film if his family said no. So I guess the question for us and the audience is, because there has been a lot of pushback, a lot of people are saying it's disgusting and leave it where it was, like that people believe that they shouldn't have even finished the series after it, that it should have finished at 7. But then there's a part of me that thinks, well, who are we to say that when the closest people in Paul's life have said that they want it to happen and that it's okay?
I know, but also then that brings into question, like, who owns someone's image? Like, okay, hear it out. If I pass away tomorrow and I drop dead.
The podcast is continuing with your face on Keisha.
Does that mean that Matt, for the rest of for the rest of his life, has the right to say, yeah, you can use Laura's image and put words into her mouth and you can use her to continue a business? Because at the end of the day, Fast and Furious, as much as, yes, it's a legacy, and I understand that there's more of a legacy piece in this, it is a business.
Yeah.
And so I wonder, like, is it necessary? And is it, as a viewer, is it something that we actually really want to see? Do we want to see AI technology being used to bring people back from the dead?
I think no, usually no. I don't think you can just start a new film and put someone that's passed away in it, but I understand why in this sense. And I do have some interesting information about who owns the image. So the ownership
Not Matt, sorry.
Me. The ownership of Paul Walker's image, particularly the CGI used to recreate him in the Fast and Furious films, is complex, involving both copyright and rights to publicity. Generally, the copyright for the visual image and any related software belongs to the author. So in this case, the CGI creators, they own it. However, apparently the rights to the publicity, which control the commercial use of a person's likeness, can be held by Walker's estate, meaning the estate controls how his image is used, even if it's digitally recreated. His estate is owned by his daughter Meadow. So if this, we haven't spoken to a lawyer about this, which is just our own research on the internet, but if that is true, then essentially the estate is owned by his daughter Meadow, and Meadow has approved for his likeness to be used. So legally, obviously it's fine. It just comes down to that moral conundrum of, are we happy? Is this setting a precedence for us to bring back people from the dead and put them in future films?
Yeah, but I don't know. I mean, for me, I think it's a bit of an ethical minefield, because I really do think that the advancements in AI, and I mean, I don't think it's very, very well documented. The advancements have been so quick, right? We've made leaps and bounds from what we were able to do 2 years ago to what we are able to do now. It is so convincing. We've all seen AI where it's taken us a second to realize whether it's real or it's not real. And I think that for that reason, a lot of the legislation around AI hasn't actually caught up, because this is often what happens in the world of technology. Technology moves so fast and legislation moves so slow. And so the rules and regulations aren't there and don't catch up in time. And so I don't know if, for me, I can't say that I have like a solid feeling about whether I think it's like ethically wrong or ethically great, but I think it really opens up a can of worms around who owns someone's image and what happens to your image once you pass away. Because I understand that even in what you're saying, Britt, that it belongs to the estate and it also belongs to the AI creators. But what belongs to that person who died? And they don't get a say in it. And I dare say that even if there were things that were signed in the contract, this version of AI didn't exist when Paul Walker was alive. He didn't know that complete, and I'm talking like such a significantly real version of him could be created and that an entire movie could be made with him never speaking a single word of what was said in that movie. It's pretty fucking mind-blowing.
I think the biggest question I have about this actually doesn't relate to like, you know, whether they've given consent for it to happen, because I think that that's quite ambiguous and I think it's all a bit murky. I think what I actually have a bit more of a problem with is the fact that they're doing this under the guise of, oh, we're trying to create a legacy for him. We're trying to honor him. And, you know, this is what the fans want and this is what the story was made around. And he was, you know, the first protagonist and blah, blah, blah. I just don't believe that, because the movie that he passed away in, the 7th, that made 1.5 billion, but the most recent one only made 714 million. So I just don't think that we can actually separate the fact that there wouldn't be a financial profit or a financial gain that they're going to make by bringing him back, because they've shown it. You know, they've shown that people have an interest in Paul Walker being a part of these movies.
Totally. It would definitely be the most watched version of a Fast and Furious movie, because everyone would want to see just how crazy that, well, firstly, the AI advancements are, but also everyone wants to see him again. And as much as people say, no, I don't think I actually want to see that play out, we will out of curiosity, because it'll be the first of its time. It'll be so widely publicized. The PR around it will be insane. And I think it'll be one of those cultural moments where even if it feels a bit weird, you'll still want to see how it was done from a voyeuristic perspective. But I guess my feelings about this, Keish, and I know that you say when we talk about the legacy piece in it, if it was a legacy piece, I don't think it needed to have 5 more movies, you know? So if he died in Furious 7, that could have been the last movie, or there could have been 1 or 2. But they've created an entire framework around, and he still is mentioned in almost every movie. He still has, there's footage that alludes to him, or there's a car that it could have been him in it, but you don't quite see him. So I know that they have always used him throughout the storyline, and I think that that's totally acceptable because he was such an integral heart of Fast and Furious. But there is something about this whole making an entire movie talking to a dead man who is being characterized by AI that to me feels quite disturbing.
I'm battling with how I feel. I know it said.
Britt's like, I really want to see him again.
No, he was so beautiful. I said it gives me a little bit of the ick, and it does. But I think it's really situational. I don't necessarily agree with you, Keisha, on. I mean, I do and I don't. Of course, you can't separate the fact that it's going to make a shitload of money.
But for who is my question?
Well, his daughter Meadow benefits from it. So we know that. She's the estate holder. Anything that is made from him now goes to her. So I truly believe that this is a big, from Vin Diesel's motives, he doesn't need money, right? He's going to make money. Yes, absolutely. But I think it would be remiss to say that he is doing it for his legacy, because this wasn't his idea. The studio have said to him, please, can we finish this off? And he's the one that said, only if I can see it out with my best friend, Paul. I think that it was actually quite an emotional decision and a considered decision, not a monetary one. Yes, there'll be benefits, but his family are benefiting. His daughter, who he left at 15, is benefiting.
The studio producers are benefiting.
Yeah, of course. No, but it wasn't their idea. It was Vin's stipulation. He was like, I will only film it if you make this happen. And I find that interesting. I think that's why this situation as a whole is different for me. If I view bringing back someone from the dead to put in a film, I feel like that is separate to this, because this was such an elaborate franchise. It was so big. It was based around 2 best friends in real life. And I think there was so much character development that the world grew with them. So I feel like I look at this situation differently to if it was just like, hey, we're going to make a movie with Heath Ledger, like out of the blue.
But the thing is, you cannot extract or separate the fact that, yes, Vin Diesel is an actor in this and that he's best friends with Paul Walker, but you also can't separate the part that he's also a creator and producer. So he is part of that production team that does personally benefit as well.
Yeah.
My question is, okay, let's say that we're all right with this. They make 2027, this final version of Fast and Furious. We all watch Paul Walker on screen, risen from the dead in Fast and Furious. Where's the line? Can they bring back child actors? Can they bring back musicians because they're doing, biography or whatever it is? Like,
do we need actors anymore?
Do we need actors? Okay, firstly, do we need actors?
That's already the question, though.
If there is a series that a child is in, whatever it is, and that kid dies, who owns that child's image? Are we allowed to create an AI version of that actor because we were all so invested in that child's life? Like, I don't know where the line is. And at the moment, it feels as though that line is very murky. And so I think that there needs to be some parameters that are put in place around what ownership do we have individually on our likeness when we're not here anymore to protect it?
But this is where it gets even more complicated and muddier. Even when people are alive, you can deep fake someone alive now. You can deep fake
Totally.
someone's face. They can be doing whatever they want. They can be on the dark web in porn. They can be literally doing anything and that person doesn't own it and they're still alive. So I guess that's the question people are asking is, well, I can't control it right now and I'm here. Is it morally that corrupt? I don't know.
Well, I mean, the reality is there's lots of legislation around deep fakes. Deep fakes are illegal. Like if someone's making deep fake pornography or explicit material, that is illegal. From 2024, those legislations were brought in. So there's many protections.
Yes.
Is it perfect yet? No.
Yes.
But this is such a gray area. This is something that is legal, that is okay. And it's because it's not sexualized. But then again, maybe it is. Maybe that AI character's playing out a sex scene. Like, who's to say where the limitations are in this? When the reality is that it's a movie and they're acting. Is that person making out with an actress on screen? Like, are they getting their clothes off down to their bloody budgie smugglers? Like, what are they doing? And they can't give consent to it because they're dead. Like, it's
crazy.
truly a crazy world that we're living in. And I think the surface level of it seems like it's okay. But then the further you unpack, like, the actual nuance around, well, what is that character doing in that film? And would that person have chosen to do that? Would that be a role that they would have said, yeah, would Paul Walker 15 years later still be going, you know what, yeah, I want to keep doing Fast and Furious? Would he have made other decisions for his life? Like, we don't know.
I think that's the most interesting thing is that a lot of the time in situations that are similar to this, I don't think there has been one exactly like this, people say it's what they would have wanted. And the truth is that you can't apply that to something with technology that existed in 2013 because this technology, like you said, Laura, it didn't exist then. So you can't really wholly, fully say it's what they would have wanted. You don't know. This stuff didn't exist. And to be honest, I'm a bit more confused. His brothers look pretty similar to him. Like, I don't know why his brother can't just learn to act and play the role. Like, that to me would have been
I don't know if that's worse.
I think it would have been a nicer version of how to honor your brother is by like taking on that character. That's happened in, you know, films or TV shows in the past where people have passed away or they've quit, you know, and they've just had to replace the actor and pretend like they didn't completely change what they looked like.
But we all know that doesn't work from a viewer perspective, from an audience perspective.
We don't like it.
We don't enjoy that. I think that the reality is that would impact box office success, and we probably wouldn't want to go and see Paul Walker's brother pretend to be Paul Walker, but we will pay to go and see an AI version of him being recreated. The thing is, and I mean, you know, we've kind of surrounded it, and Keish, you summed it up really well, but people also change their mind around what their legacies are. You know, like the things that you might think you want 10 years later, you might not be as interested in them anymore. I'm not saying Paul Walker wouldn't want to still be doing Fast and Furious, but the reality is we don't know.
But
we just don't know.
I agree. You know what they will do though? They will ensure that his storyline is incredible. He wouldn't be doing anything he wouldn't have done in a past film. I think when they say things like he would have wanted this, I think if you sort of extrapolate a few of these pieces, he would have wanted it in the fact of his daughter is going to benefit from it and make money and he knows she's secure. Outside of that, I don't think you can say what he wanted. So that is 100% accurate, Keish. Like there's no way to say what someone wants 10, 15, 20 years later, apart from the fact, please continue to look after my daughter. I'm sure that is the part that they're focusing on. But it's going to be interesting. Am I going to see it? Yeah, probably. Like I think that is going to be one of the highest grossing films of that franchise. I'd be shocked if it isn't. I think that every single person that's kicking off about it saying, you know, this is disgusting, they'll probably end up seeing it as well. You know, there'll be some hate watching, there'll be some curiosity watching, there'll be some passion watching. Like people are going to love the fact that he's coming back, and there are people that are excited about that.
It will be a huge success.
Yeah.
But it does raise a lot of questions around the moral implications of what it means for future AI in movies.
Well,
sure.
I'm going to give you guys permission. You can continue the podcast with my face if you want. Just don't make me too rogue. Like, just keep me make me better, actually. I've got some making up to do. Well, it is time for Accidentally Unfiltered, and it came down to two. I'm not going to lie. I made an educated choice this week. One was very poo-driven, so I thought I'd rest that, and we can circle back to that. So I was chatting with my partner and his dad about the Noosa Triathlon, which my partner was training for. I am a terrible swimmer, so naturally I don't participate. My father-in-law turned to me and asked if I was good at freestyle, to which I responded, no way, I'm strictly a doggy style girl. His eyes bulged out of his head and he looked absolutely shocked. My partner's head snapped up in my direction and the conversation went silent. I couldn't work out what I had said wrong, but I just assumed he was shocked I couldn't swim. A few minutes later, my heart sank to my stomach when I realized that the swimming stroke I was referring to is called doggy paddle, not doggy style. I had told
Terrible.
my father-in-law my favorite sex position. For context, my father-in-law is a very shy and conservative man, and this made him feel extremely uncomfortable. It's pretty funny.
No way, I only do doggy style.
I just love doggy style.
Didn't ask.
He's like, do you mean doggy paddle?
I can just imagine though, like if he's very sweet, he wouldn't have said anything.
No.
He probably knew what she meant.
Turned around, high-fived his son. He's like, I'll be your son.
All right, guys, it's time for Suck and Sweet. Brittany, what is your sweet? I know you're married, but we also have another sweet for you.
Yes, obviously getting married. My sweet this week would have to be, can I say I made the ultimate comeback of all comebacks on Dancing with the Stars? I got shat on last week.
You didn't get shat on.
I
It
was at the
still-
bottom of the leaderboard and he said I was drunk at a party. He also said I didn't use my hips. It was a disaster. I got shat on. Fine, I don't care. We laughed and we laughed and we laughed.
You did care though. That's the problem. You cared quite a bit.
I actually didn't. I was like, you expect it, right? You know, you go in to expect to be shat on. You know that that's a part of the show. You know you're not a dancer.
You expect that Craig, for everyone who's watched it, you know Craig is going to say something nasty. He
Yeah.
just is. But he's also going to say something nice afterwards. But the thing is, we're so negatively geared, we only hear the nasty thing. I think he said he actually enjoyed your dance and stuff as well.
He said he enjoyed my enthusiasm. That's such a that's like a backhanded, like
That-
good try. You were happy. You smiled out there.
That's what you say to a kid as well at school who's
Yeah.
like doing terribly and you're like, but she's really enthusiastic. And it also just means that they talk too much.
He essentially said you were terrible, but you had good energy. That's what he said.
You got the participation award.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I did the samba, which is really hard. It's like a real hippie one. It's very technical. And I did really well. And I was shocked, but I got the first 9 of the season.
Yay!
And I hate
Brittany's
to brag,
the
but here it
dancer.
is. I was like, I got a 9. I was like, fuck yeah. I was really stoked. And it was like, have a look at my Instagram if you haven't seen it, but it had this really hard flip thing where I had to like flip in the air and land on his shoulder as like the finale.
With your ass in his face.
With my ass in his face. I hadn't been able to do it. I can't tell you. I was almost in tears. I was beside myself begging my partner Craig to change the final move because I could not get it. And we'd been doing it for 5 weeks. I was like, when's enough? Like, how long until we do a backup? He's like, we're not doing a backup. You'll be fine. So I went into it not being able to do it. I think I'd maybe pulled it off badly once and we just did it. I don't know if it was the adrenaline, but it felt really good. Like, you know what it's like, Laws. Like, you spend so long trying to do something.
I don't think I ever nailed the lift, but
Didn't
yeah,
you?
it felt really good. Oh, yeah, we did one
did
of
some
our
stuff.
waltzes.
Yeah, you did a spin.
We had a few spins.
No, like the big air one. I remember you did like
Did
an.
I?
Didn't
Can't
you?
remember. So
I
so
don't
long
know.
ago.
Maybe I'm just fake
I'm
it. No one's going to
pregnant.
look it up. Just fake it. You did that quadruple backflip twist.
That's true. I did
Yeah.
that. Yeah, cartwheel into a backflip into a lift.
Yeah, that
That's
was the
right.
best. And
Yeah.
you got 11.
I got perfect scores.
Anyway.
The highest scores in Dancing with the Stars history. Now that I remember.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think you won the award. Okay, whatever. And my suck is, it hasn't happened yet, but Ben is leaving at the end of the week. So I know that I'm going to be, I might not be in a good way next week, guys. I'm just telling you that.
Sorry.
It's going to be the hardest goodbye we've ever had.
Yeah, it will be. At least like this time you can be like, well, at least I know you're coming back.
He's got to.
You're legally obliged.
You're legally. You're like, oh, I'm
Well, he doesn't have.
married.
No, she doesn't have to.
Can you divorce someone from a different country?
Yeah. Yep.
He doesn't have to divorce me, guys. He can just not come back. It's not a homing pigeon. Anyway, what's yours?
He's a boomerang.
What's your
All right,
suck?
my suck for the week. To be fair, I don't have a suck this week. And I know that kind of goes against the rules. I don't have a suck. I feel pretty great. And also, I've kind of come out. I'm at a good point of the pregnancy. Like, I feel good. I'm positive about it.
You weed all over yourself on a boat.
That's fine. Honestly, if that's the lowest of the low, like at
It's
this,
also the suck of every week.
but also like at this point of pregnancy with Lola, I was waking up every day vomiting, like every single day, and I had chronic pain. I was in and out of hospital. So like this is just a very different pregnancy. I
Yeah.
honestly sometimes forget that I'm pregnant, as does everyone else, it seems.
Yeah.
Except when I piss my pants. But my sweet for the week is, it's work related, but Tony May related. We just had our biggest month ever of like business in the 15 years that we've done Tony May.
Lunch is on, Laura.
For So usually the biggest month of the year is November. Obviously, like Black Fridays, everyone's Christmas shopping, but we've just done our end of financial year sales, and we did the same figures in June as what we did in November last year. So we've doubled our business size.
You're welcome. That must have been my wedding ring.
6 months.
Yeah, it must have been the pushes that I did.
Yeah, it's all because
No,
of you. But I
that's
appreciate
awesome.
you, Britt. No, I'm just really proud.
That's awesome. That's huge.
Yeah, we've invested heaps in the company over the last little bit. Like we've done 2 renovations, we've done a whole new website build.
Nice to see that it pays off.
Yeah, it's been a really big, we've hired heaps of new staff. Like we've got a staff dinner next week and there's like 23 people coming. So it's really cool. But we have been in this real growth phase. And it's also really scary because my sister's very conservative. So she's my business partner. She's super conservative when it comes to spending money. And I'm like, you got to spend money to make money. And it doesn't always go down well for
I
her.
think both things can be true.
I think they're good to be
Yes.
in business together.
100%. And I
If
think
you have 2 of you,
yes.
it might not end up well.
It's life uncut. No, but the problem is in the past, we've always been understocked. So like we've always sold out of things way too early during sale periods and stuff.
Yeah.
And we've just had not a high enough stock supply to be able to service. And so we didn't really know what the limit was, right? Like we didn't know how many orders we would have got had we had that stock on hand.
Yeah.
And so we really took a punt this end of financial year and like we really kind of got ourselves prepared, and it was a gamble and it really paid off. And so it's been like a very, very, very business rewarding month for us. And I think,
really cute.
yeah, and I can now say to Alicia and be like, it's all going to be fine. Like, so now we got to get
The floor is lava.
We got to get prep for Black Friday. But we've been doing this for like 15 years now, and it really was just this moment where we had like we were so proud of ourselves. So it's been
we're proud of you.
yay.
You could bring some pieces in next tomorrow. That'd be great. No,
I'll send you my list.
that is it from us, guys. Please keep your Accidentally Unfiltereds coming in. You can just send them into Instagram. Just make sure you put Accidentally Unfiltered at the top. You'll always be anonymous. Same thing for Ask Uncuts and also your Ask Uncut Aftermath. So if we've ever answered a question for you or you know we've answered your friend's question, we want the follow-up to what happened because we all live for it.
And if you guys have any questions for us or anything you want to share with us, slide into the DMs at Life Uncut Podcast, and you know the drill.
Oh, don't forget to go and follow us on YouTube. We have a YouTube where we put everything up. It just hits different when you get to watch it.
It slaps. And you know the drill.
Tell your mum, tell your dad, tell your dog, tell your friends, and share the love because
We love love.